We are going to get now into 3D packaging using Adobe Dimension. And Adobe Dimension is really for, it's not necessarily for creating 3D like you would do with Maya or Blender or SketchUp. This really is for, should go here as well, packaging, oops, packaging. There we go. So I'll go here. Adobe Dimension allows you to take graphics that were designed in Photoshop, Illustrator, or any other software and place them on existing mock-up or existing models that is already provided for you within the software. So for example, even something like this, which looks like it's a vitamin. You can see the graphics that were designed. Okay. And then they put the graphics on these containers. These containers are provided for you in Adobe Dimension. You are able to edit the color, the surface, the texture. You can place the graphics on them and then do your staging. So you can control the lighting, the camera angle, and then render out that scene. Okay, same thing here. Notice how this packaging is a little bit more matte. And you know, the pump in the bottle is the same color and material. Then these graphics are brought in from whether it's Photoshop and or Illustrator, placed on them. The scene is rendered. These graphics in the back from Dimension, you can render a scene as a ping with a transparency. You can also render your scene as a PSD, bring it into Photoshop, and then customize the background. Okay, so it is a great way to really showcase the beauty of packaging design and its possibilities without having to build something from scratch like you would in Blender, Maya, SketchUp. Where this becomes relevant, I know, Adrian, you are, your major is the 3D Viz, correct? Is Adrian there?
Yes.
Yeah, you're 3D Viz, right? So even in an architectural type of situation, maybe other softwares such as SketchUp or Rhino is creating the building or the space, but then the assets that go into the space can be done using Dimension, and the mockups with the label and the graphics put on them in Dimension. So it does have its relevance. Okay, so I do want to go into the one thing you guys are going to learn. It's an Adobe product, so there is that level of familiarity. And then two, because you're not creating 3D, it's much easier to learn. Okay, so I'm going to come over here. If you are doing this with me, I do already have Dimension open. There is an asset folder that I have for you in the modules. I think it's the same week 9 module. Yes, if you're doing this with me in Canvas week 9, it says Adobe Dimension practice files. And you're going to get these vector assets. We're going to do like a little, like a bottle juice line, okay, using Dimension. So if you click here on this link, it'll take you to my Dropbox folder. and you can download this asset. Okay, so you can go ahead and download it, and then also unzip it so that you have the Thrive Vectors.eps file just sitting there on your computer. Okay. In the meantime, as that asset is downloaded and ready for us to use, I'm going to go ahead and open up Adobe Dimension. Okay. So if you are, just so that I know how to control my pace, if you are doing this with me, this is my participant list. Okay, hide that so I can see. If you could give me like a little thumbs up on your screen if you're doing this with me, or if not, you're just sitting back and watching, then don't give me a thumbs up. If you're doing this with me, give me a thumbs up. Okay, Kendra, Sarah, good. That's it. Cameron is doing it with me, good. Okay. All right, so the three of you come along for the ride. All right. All right, so go back to my
Sorry,
screen.
I'm doing it too.
Okay.
Sorry, I
right.
was changing my sunset.
All right. All right, so share screen. And I'm going to go ahead and create new. Okay. It's not a big note taker, but there are like little subtle keyboard shortcuts that will help you work through the software. So if you do have something you want to jot down, you know, or at the very least, this is being recorded, so you can always come back to it. Okay, so of course, here is your main scene. If you've taken other 3D software, this looks familiar. You are able to change the size of this canvas. I will tell you, 95% of the time, students just leave it as 1920 by 1080. But there are times when maybe you need a very specific custom size for this. As long as you're not clicking on anything, you have your canvas size right here, okay? But for now, we will just leave it at 1920 by 1080. Coming over here to the left side, this is where all of your assets are. And then the right side is your scene property. So let's start over here on the left, okay? You have your starter assets, that's what we're looking at. And this whole list are the objects you can work with. So you have your basic shapes. Okay, you can even use the type tool, have 3D text. Basic shapes is like abstract shapes, abstract geometric shapes. Then as you scroll down, you have your models. So your soda can, your pouch, your can, your bottle, your basic objects. This is what's already available for you right within the software. A little abstract stuff like the splash, your prisms, all that kind of good stuff. Okay. Then as I continue to scroll, there are materials. So if I have a sphere or a cube on here, I can then add the material on that cube to make it metal, glass, wood. Okay, these are your basic standard materials. Okay. As I scroll down more, we now have substance materials. Substance materials, it's like materials plus. What is the plus? The plus is that you are able to customize the properties of the material. So for example, if I were to use this right here, I can customize how dense the pattern is. I can customize different features of any one of these materials. Keep scrolling down and you have your basic lights, okay? Even if you don't use these, there's already a light built in here. but you can add additional lights and customize them as well. And you have environmental lights so that your lighting reflects that of like a warm studio, a studio with panel lights, other different environmental conditions that will affect the lighting. Then you have these images that can serve as almost like para-realistic backdrops. But to be quite honest, I kind of discourage students from using these because as soon as you use them, people know that you did this in dimensions. So I kind of stay away from that. Okay. So let's start here. I'm going to take this cube up here in my basic shape, and I'm going to click on it. And just by clicking on it, you see that it appears here in your scene. In terms of navigating the object, navigating your scene, it's as simple as 1, 2, 3, and I literally mean that. If I press 1 on my keyboard, I can rotate. I'm not rotating the object, I'm rotating around my scene. 2 allows me to move throughout my scene. Again, I'm not moving the object, I'm moving the scene, basically moving the camera, okay? 3 is your pan, so I can zoom in and out of my scene. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. As for the object itself, if I click on the cube, I can click on it with my selection tool. Remember, it's Adobe, so the letter V is your selection tool, just like it is with Photoshop and Illustrator, okay? I get this widget here. Let me just rotate a little bit more. There we go, okay. So with this widget, you have your 3 axes. Your Y is vertical, X is left to right, and your Z is your depth. You can, if you hover the mouse over any one of these points on the widget, it tells you what you're about to do to that object. So if I put the mouse here, okay, now I'm going to move. I'm moving it up and down on the Y axis, okay? If I put it here, it says scaling. I can hold the Shift key and scale it bigger or smaller. If I don't hold Shift, then it's, oops, it's still not, oh, interesting. Okay, how are we doing that? Okay, so it's locked, it's locked. It's gonna be proportional when you're scaling it. And then the little circles is to rotate that object on the X, Y, or Z axis. Okay, so just take a minute or two to get familiar with how it moves. The white thing in the middle moves it along the surface. So it's going to reposition it and move it along your plane surface. Okay. Once you have an object in your scene, okay, it's probably a good idea that we save this. So I'm going to go to File, Save As. And you could just call it Lesson 1, nothing fancy, okay? Lesson 1, and I'll just throw it on the desktop. And as I'm doing this, if there's any questions and can I, should I, is there a way to, you can ask, you can just unmute and ask that question, okay? So on the left, that's where you get your objects. What you do with the object is over here on the right. This is your scene panel in the upper right corner. So just as I put the cube there, you can see the cube identified in my scene panel. I can lock the cube. I can hide or show it. And then if I click this arrow here, it takes me into the material for the cube. Okay, so that's your scene panel. Also in your scene panel, you have your environment. Okay, so I can change the intensity of my lighting. I can rotate my light. I can change my background color if I wanted to. This is for the environment. Okay. The camera, honestly, I really don't even mess with the camera that much because anything I want to do with the camera, I can do with 1, 2, or 3. So I really don't play with that too much. Okay. Okay. Back to the cube, because this is our object that we want to do cool things with. Okay, so there's 2 ways you can change how this cube looks. If I come down here to I'm on my cube layer, if I come down here to my actions section, what can I do to the cube? What actions can I do to the cube? Okay, I can delete it. I can duplicate it. If I have a lot of objects here, I can select them all and group them. If I have the object kind of floating in the air, it's not really grounded, I can click this icon here to move it to the ground, to snap it to the ground. This right here converts to a standard model. It's easier for me to show you. This is already a standard model, so it's not really gonna work. Okay. And then here is where we get to play with the materials. Okay. So with the materials, what can you do? And again, if you just take, honestly, I think like in 10-15 minutes, you can learn dimension. Okay. With the material, okay, you come down here to your properties. There's a base color. There's a little color swatch there. All right, so click it. You click it. This is the foundation. This is the base color of the object. You can make it whatever color you want. Okay. You have some properties here. You can adjust the opacity of the objects. If I want to have a glass cube or a transparent cube, there's the opacity. You can adjust the roughness if it had a texture. Make it more or less metallic, glow, all these little things you can kind of tinker around with. Okay, and that's just the object with the base color on it. All right, well, what if you wanted to add, make it look like something else except for just a base color? Come over here to the left side. Remember those materials? So let's go to our standard materials and see what we can do. I'm going to grab this Adobe standard material metal and literally just drag it, drop it onto the cube. Okay. Now it is metal. You can see me rotating it. You see it has those metallic properties. Okay. You want to work with that. You want to try another one, take another material. If you click it, it applies it. You can try another material. Okay. All right, so that's how you play with the standard materials. The more complex materials are the substance ones, because those materials can be really, really customized. So for example, if I take this honeycomb here, which is a substance material, honeycomb, click it, it's applied to the cube. And now I can customize the honeycombness of the honeycomb. So the ceramic roughness, the roughness variation, The hexagon, I can change it from hexagon to square. Now it looks like a brick. Very interesting. Okay. The tile offset, joint width. I mean, every one of these materials or the substance materials has tons of parameters that can be changed. Okay. Is everyone good so far? You guys are following with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Easy, hard, getting it?
Yeah.
You get it.
Way
Yeah.
easier than Maya.
Way easier. Oh
It
my
has
God.
a lot of stuff from various
Ooh.
programs I think would be very good, especially with the like the option where you can move, rotate, and scale at the same time. I wish they had that for Blender for beginners, because it's a nice little feature to add there, especially seeing for later on. Like with, I'd say for me, I dabble with Blender a lot, and so I'm able to just use the key binds easily. I don't have to worry about clicking, but it's like something that could be very good for beginners to just have, so that they don't have to worry about like finding, okay, where's the scale? And it's even worse if they don't know how to like open the tabs, because for Blender, they have the option to close the tabs for move, scale, and rotate. I never had an issue with it, but it was something I had other people who dabbled with Blender have an issue with opening the tab, because it's a whole other setting.
Adrian,
Yes.
I totally get you. I'm like, I'm gonna learn Blender because there's things that I want to do as a designer, particularly with some of my metaverse projects where I'm like, I need to learn Blender. And there is like this masterful Blender tutorial that's on YouTube. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's the donut.
I've seen that's one of the beginner ones that I first saw when I first started dabbling with Blender. It was a good tutorial, especially before COVID hit it. It was a good tutorial.
Yeah. So I started trying to learn Blender, doing this daggone donut. My donut's a hot mess. But because it's like my blood, my genes, my very chromosomes bleed Adobe, it's difficult translating into a brand new interface such as Maya or Blender. I'm like, where's the move tool? Like, why isn't a move tool? It's different for me. And I find that those kind of 3D programs really help if you have a mouse with the middle button or the middle thing. And I'm like, I'm on a Mac, I don't mouse, no. The dimension is way simpler. However, Dimension is not a 3D designing program. It's for mockups. So that's kind of like the trade-off in the complexity. But yeah, good. So I mean, I think because everyone here has already taken a 3D course already. Yes.
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 Uh-huh.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
So you're familiar with the world of 3D now, so adjusting to something that's simple like Dimension is going to be very easy for you. Okay, you take 10 minutes, you learn the interface, and it's like, oh, I got this. Okay. All right. So back to this cube here. All right. So while you're not able to I can't come into Dimension and make a 3D character. That's not what it's for. But I can change the height, width, and depth properties of any object. So if I go back to my scene here and I click on this cube, okay, again, you got your properties down here. So as long as you remember what your X, Y, and Z axis represent, you can change things. So if I wanted to make it taller, okay, go into my scrubby sliders. It is stretching the texture though. I'll fix that. I can, I can scale on my y-axis. I can scale on my X, scale on my Z. So that's where you can kind of customize the properties, XYZ properties of the object. Just by clicking on it and it's coming down here. As long as it's unlocked, you can edit these independently. Same thing with the scale. Okay. All right, so I'm going to click on this cube. I can click it here or even click it here in the scene and delete. All right, let's actually try to build something or create something like a mock-up as you would do for a packaging class. I'm going to choose a brand new model, and I want you to choose this first one here, square bottle. You click it, and it shows up in your scene. Sometimes when you put something in your scene, and I've had this happen in Blender, and I'm like, wait, where'd my donut go? I have no idea. If you lose the object, or if it's not like front and center, think of the word front and center, the letter F. If you press F on your keyboard, it recenters it in your scene. So great. Here's my bottle. And this bottle is made up of 3 pieces. Well, what are those 3 pieces? Okay, let's take a look in our scene. Square bottle, it's a folder. If I double click the folder, oops, there we go. We have the lid. We have the actual bottle itself. And we have the little tiny safety ring around the neck. Okay, so notice how there's three 3D objects that are grouped together in a folder, and that's what's giving you this bottle. Okay, that's cool because that means I can customize them separately, which is great. Okay, so if you're doing this with me, this is going to be like one of them healthy smoothie juices, like a Bolt House, or what's that other one?
Naked.
Yeah, one of them kind of things, right? Okay, so let's go to the bottle itself. Okay, this bottle layer. And what do you want the base of this bottle to look like? Okay, so I can go maybe to my substance, my basic substance materials, okay? And or I can come here to my material property here, okay? So there's one here that says plastic with something. I'll click on that, see what that looks like. Okay. Plastic with a lattice pattern. All right, that's kind of interesting. And, you know, what can I do with that? I can still come here and change the base color. Okay, to something else. All right. And can we adjust the roughness? No, not with a standard. You can't adjust it. Okay. And then I'm also going to change the color of this the lid. Okay, so I'll click on my lid icon there. And maybe just for this, I just changed the color. Base color. And then also of the safety ring. Okay, they both have the same color. Okay, same color. All right. All right, so now, how do we handle graphics? How do we get labels on here? All right, so let's deal with that. Remember you downloaded that folder with a label decal on it. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to that folder. It's a vector file. Now, you can't bring the vector directly into Dimension. We have to work with it in Illustrator first. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. I think I already have Illustrator here. Okay. So not sure if you guys are seeing my screen here with Illustrator. So I have a patterned asset, abstract pattern asset here in one artboard. I have a like a brand name here, Thrive Immunity Support. I have a flavor here, citrus berry powder mix. Why I have the word powder on there? That doesn't make any sense. I'll take the word powder out. Citrus berry. Good. Okay, and then I don't even know what that's for, but we have this beautiful pattern here and then the label. Okay, so how do we get these prepared for Dimension? What I like to do, I like to use Illustrator's asset export. The asset export. The asset export in Illustrator is located here underneath your window menu. Window, asset export. And it allows you to kind of collect all of your objects, all of your graphics here, and put them in a way that you can export them as particular formats, particular sizes, whatever you want to do. Okay. So I'll show you this way, then I'll show you another way. So to get these things in here, I'm going to take the entire abstract pattern. So not just the like one square, but both of the squares together. And to drag it in there, you have to hold down the Alt or Option key. So I'm going to Alt, Option, drag, and then that puts the pattern in my asset export. Well, Professor, why you got to be holding the Alt key? Like why? Because these are two objects. It's 1 and 2. If I don't hold the Alt key, look what happens. If I just drag it like that, it's gonna split it into 2 pieces. So holding the Alt or Option key allows me to take these 2 pieces and it brings it into the export as 1. So that's one. I'll call this label pattern. This is another one here. So the Thrive Immunity Support with the square. I'm going to Option or Alt drag that in there. I'll call that bottle name. Then the little citrus berry here, I'm going to Option drag that. And I'll call that citrus berry. Okay. So I have all of these assets in my export panel. Now it's time to export them. So I'm going to click on 1, hold the Shift key, click 2 and 3. How do I want these exported? Okay, I want them double the size. I'd rather have them be too big. I can always make them smaller than it's too small. And I'm trying to stretch it out. So I'm going to change my scale size to 2x. It's going to be double the size. And then the format is going to be a ping. I want to make sure that the ping does not have a white background. So here in my asset export panel, I'm going to go into the upper right corner and click on Format Settings. And just make sure, it should already be like this, but it's going to make sure the background color is set to transparent. Good. Great. All three are selected. I click export. I'm gonna put them on the desktop. Done. That's it. That's one way to prepare graphics for Adobe Dimension. Another way is to use your libraries. So let's say, for example, if I'm doing a particular project, I can create a new library for that project. Maybe I'll call it Thrive. And then I can bring those assets into my library and they will be available across all Adobe software. So I can take this, drag and drop it. That's the artwork there. I can take my little logo label here, drag and drop it. See artwork there. I can take this citrus berry text, make it a little larger, drag and drop it. Drag and drop it. Oops. Maybe it wants to be outlined. Yes, outline it first, then drag and drop it. There we go. Okay. So I have these artworks in my library. And of course, I can always change the names there. And then this is going to be called Thrive. Okay, great. So those are two ways that you can get your graphics from Illustrator ready for Adobe Dimension. I'm going to switch back over into Dimension. And this looks so terrible, but we'll fix it up. Okay. Today is not about making it pretty. Today is about making it work. Okay. So what am I putting a label on? I'm putting a label on the bottle. So I'm going to go to the bottle layer in my scene. Okay. Here's my actions. Maybe I can delete, duplicate, group, drop it to the ground. Boom. Place graphic on model. It's as simple as that. I'm going to click here. And on my desktop right there, there's the label pattern. Give it a few seconds and boom, there it is. How do you manipulate the label? I use my move tool. I get this widget and I can move it into position. I think what I'm gonna do is take this and rotate it and see if I can get it to stretch. I'm holding the shift key now. Do like a 3/4 wrap around this whole thing. Yep, that's pretty good. Okay. All right, is anyone able to do this with me?
My file wouldn't open because I don't have the most up-to-date Illustrator,
Okay.
but I was watching.
What you can also do, I mean, to be quite honest, you can even go online, go to like go to Free Pick.
Pick anything random and just do it.
Pick anything random, just pick an abstract pattern. Okay, hey, that's great right there. You can
Okay.
even download it from here. Right click, save image as. Throw it on the desktop. Okay. You can even go back to Free Pick, get a fake get a drink logo or a beverage logo. Wonderful, excellent, fine. I don't know if it's probably going to have the white, you know, you can download it. So you can get like quick stuff from Free Pick just to keep, you know, so you can do along with this. Okay.
Cool.
All right, so here is where, you know, you put the label on there and it's like, all right, well, clearly nothing matches, and that's not graphic design. Like it has to look good, it has to match. So what can I do? I'm going to go back to my bottle. Remember, I made my base color that weird, ugly blue. I'm going to click on the blue base color. And wouldn't it make sense if like the bottle matched the color that was on the label? You can do that. Right here in my color, there is an eyedropper right here. And I can sample colors from my scene. Okay, that looks a little more like, you know, realistic and cohesive. Go to my lid. A weird purple. Purple doesn't make sense. Click on the color there, click on the base color, get my eyedropper, and maybe sample that color. That looks much better. Okay, gonna go to my environment and that weird pink color. I'm just gonna uncheck that, or maybe put it back to white. Okay. Good. Okay. You can stack multiple labels on your object. So I'm gonna go back to my bottle. I'm going to add another graphic. That other graphic is going to be the bottle name. Now, remember I said like, you know, you could do it through the asset export and it puts the files on your computer. But remember, we also did it as a library, right? So check this out. I come over here to where it says starter assets. I can switch it from starter assets to libraries. Now, my entire Adobe library collection, all my files that I save are available. And look what I have there, the Thrive. So I can maybe take it from here, drag and drop and put it on there. Okay, hold the shift key. Oops, well, try that again. Try that again. Where's my bottle? Graphic. Hold the shift key. There we go. Position it there. Okay. Zoom in. Turn it around. You guys can see it there. So far, so good. It's not hard. Guess what? It gets even easier. Check this out. Remember, Dimension is an Adobe product. And what does Adobe like to do? It likes to streamline the editing process. It likes to keep graphics live and connected between softwares. So watch what I'm able to do. This is so cool. Let me quit out of Illustrator. And I'm going to open up Photoshop. Okay. Let Photoshop go ahead and open, and I'm going to show you guys this. This is like one of the best things I love about Dimension. Okay, so I'm in Photoshop. I'm not going to open anything. I'm going to switch back over to Dimension. Watch this. You see this graphic here? Right there. Properties, image, there's the graphic right there. Okay, so click it. There's a pencil. When I hover over the pencil, it says what? Edit. Oh snap, look what it's going to do. It opens up the graphic in Photoshop. and it opens it up as a PSD file. I can make changes to this. So maybe I have, instead of having this kind of greenish thing, maybe I do want to have like a citrus kind of a flavor. So I can go to my hue saturation, maybe make this more kind of citrusy. Here's my citrus. Colorize. Increase. Okay, something extreme like that. Okay. Give it more of like an orange citrus look. Save it. Close the file. Switch back to dimension. You see what it does? Automatically updates. So it live updates from Photoshop. My Thrive logo label here is in black. The black does not look good. We can't see it. Click on the graphic, image, click it there, edit. Oh, now it's gonna edit back in, it's gonna edit back in Illustrator, fine, because that was a library item. And from here, instead of it being black, change this to white. Change this. To white. Change this to white. Save. Close the document. Dimension automatically updates. So this is really nice, particularly if you want to do things like maybe have multiple flavors. So I have one square bottle. I got to change the lid as well because the lid doesn't look good in that red. Do that. And maybe even, so now I have this one square bottle. Action, duplicate. Give it a few seconds. Now I have two square bottles. Action, duplicate. Move tool. 3 square bottles. And I can literally go in here and change each one to like make it look like it's different flavors. So maybe this bottle, instead of it being that putrid green, I can make it like it's like orange flavored or whatever. Cappuccino flavored, okay. This second one here. Okay, the second one here. Open the folder. Here's the bottle. For this bottle, maybe I'm editing the graphic. Change that to a blueberry. That, no snap, Julia. What are we doing? I'll stop it. Go to the lid. Up here, change the base color of that to match that. Change the bottle from the green as a base to a blueberry concoction. Eyedropper, blueberry. Blueberry, Julia, blueberry. Okay. And then my last one here. Guess that's this bottle here. Yeah. I'll make the label edit. Change that back to the green. Save. Change the little lid color. Okay. All right, you guys see what happened here?
Yeah.
All right, what do you
Yes.
think? What do you think?
Looks good.
Yes,
Right.
good.
Mhm. Okay. Then it's like, all right, so then what do you do with this? How do you render it? Like, do you have to render? How do you export? Like, what do you do with this? Okay. There are three things, or three likely, actually maybe even four likely things you can do with these 3D objects. One, maybe you want to keep everything digital and you just want to have some pings. Remember, I showed you that the Behance page, and they had the skincare products and little pumps. It's still images, right? So right over here, there is a thing called render, the render tab. And again, it's so simple. There's only two options. You can either render as a ping or render as a PSD. Okay, so here's my lesson. And here are your options, either a PSD or a ping. I'm going to choose a ping because the ping is typically, you can actually do both. I'll do a ping, it's typically a little bit faster. And this is where the trade-off is. You can either have it render high quality. High quality is if you're not going to be using your laptop. You let it render high quality, don't have any other software open, give it a few minutes, let it do its thing. If you have a lot of software open or you just need something really quick, you can take this down to like low or medium. It'll render faster, just lower quality. And then you put it where you want it to render to. So I'm going to render that scene as a ping, lower quality to the desktop and hit render. Okay, you get an immediate render status. So it's going to load up really quick. A few seconds. All right, there it is. So now it's starting to render. And it will tell me like how much time it takes. It depends on your computer, on how much RAM you have. Before I render anything, I typically make sure that my computer has been freshly restarted. Don't be trying to render high-res files and your computer's been on for a week. It's not going to work, okay? But here you can see it's going to take about 2.5 minutes. I'm going to stop it here. I'm not going to have it render because it's just going to suck the RAM out my computer. So you have that. One, you can render as a PSD or a ping. Two, you can export your scene as 3D for the web. Oh yeah. So file, export, where is it? Where is it? Yeah. Share 3D scene for review. Okay, I should get a ... Oh, maybe it's here. Okay. There we go. Let's do it here. So you have your share icon, publish 3D scene. Okay. I can give it a name, Thrive, create public link. It's as simple as that. Okay. So again, one way is to render it as an image, ping and or PSD. Two is to publish it on the web as a 3D scene, and you'll see it in a second. view on the web. And this is great for clients. I've done packaging for clients, and when I show them how it's going to look like this, look at this, you can rotate it. They could spin that sucker around and they're like, oh, this is so good. Sure, approved. Okay, because they get to see what it actually looks like. Okay, so that's 2. You can publish to the web. 3, this is good for all of the other 3D programs now. I can bring this into other 3D programs. If I go back to my design tab and let's see, I want all 3 bottles. So bottle 1, hold the shift key, bottle 2, and bottle 3. So I select my objects in the scene. I go to File, Export, the models. So export selected models. Depending on your 3D software, okay, you can either export it as an OBJ or a GLB. I find that the GLB for me, just for what I use 3D for, is the best because it gives you the model and all the texturing and labeling intact. And so just as you see it here, that's exactly what it's going to look like. So fine, export it as a GLB, put it on the desktop, export. It doesn't even take long. Okay, good. All right. So just like that, it exported. Okay. Watch this. Where can I import it into? You can import it into any 3. I can import this into Blender. I can import it into SketchUp. I can import it into any of the 3D programs. I can even import it into Spatial. Okay. Then the other thing you can do is File, Export for Arrow. Does anyone know what Arrow is?
Haven't heard of it.
Okay, Arrow, yeah, it's awesome, awesome. Okay, all right. Okay, let me export 1 bottle. So 1 File, Export for Arrow. Okay, export. And it should be in my creative files. I'll call it Thrive Creative Cloud Files. Okay. I'm going to show you what Arrow does. So Arrow, anyone here used to play, where's my Zoom here? I lost my Zoom. There we go. Okay. Anyone here used to play Pokemon Go back in the day?
Yes.
Oh, you didn't think I knew about that. Yeah, right? Pokemon Go, right? You trying to drive and battle at the same time. Yeah. So Pokemon Go is probably like the most easily recognized form of augmented reality. Now you have platforms like Amazon, Wayfair, Walmart. I want to buy a couch, and it'll say, see what this looks like in your room. So you scan your floor and then you see the couch in your room. That's what Arrow does. So Arrow is a augmented reality software from Adobe. You can now add it, you can download it to your laptop or your computer. So you come over here where it says 3D and AR, right? AR, augmented reality. and you'll see the arrow as a desktop link, right there, arrow desktop. I already have it opened, I already have it downloaded, but you can see here what they're doing. So it allows you to have those augmented reality experiences with objects that you've created in Adobe Dimension. So let me show you how it works. Man, I know Adobe had all that. Yeah, it does, it does, it does. And we're going to tinker around with all of this. All right, so these are a couple of experiences that I've already created. I know I have a can here somewhere, or a cup. I need something that opens quickly. Maybe I'll take this one here. Okay. All right, it's loading. Good. All right, wonderful. This is a cup that was, and see how like the software automatically, like it really looks like Adobe Dimension. They're like cousins, right? So this is a cup that I created for my client, Chic Sugars. She wanted a coffee cup design. I'm like, sure, I'm gonna do it for you in Aero. So I imported it into Aero. I added this, I don't even know what this is. What is this? I don't even know. What is that? A butterfly. Okay, right. Because there's other things you can add to it. There's abstract shapes, there's animation, there's characters, all that kind of stuff. For my buddy there, that's 3D Viz, there's a little bit of interior design objects here. So I think I added this butterfly from somewhere. Okay. So what I'm able to do, okay, is, let's say, for example, with my coffee cup right there, maybe I want it so that when she clicks on the cup in augmented reality, it rotates. I can add this behavior, and I already have it there. So when she taps on the cup, it's going to rotate. These are triggers that I already have pre-loaded on here. Okay, great. So now that I have that there, how do you experience it? You have to have, sorry, Android users, you have to have an iPhone or an iPad. With the iPhone or iPad, I'm going to load up Aero. It's loading up. Can you guys see my screen here? Yeah, it'll show. And again, like this part here, we'll get more into it as this project evolves. I just want to show you, give you an overview as to how relatively easy the software. Oh, you're gonna open up anytime today? How relatively easy the software is to use, and like once you do create something, all right, what do you do with it? Okay, so I already showed you can export it as a PNG or a PSD. You can export it as 3D for the web. You can export it as a 3D model, a GLB that can then be imported into any other 3D software. And then the Adobe Aero, which whenever it feels like showing, I'll show you. I don't know why it's being stubborn. But that's basically it. There's no like official homework assignment. The best thing I will say for you as a group, a couple things. One, if you need to make any tweaks to your tea packaging project, you have until Wednesday to do so. 2, play around with Adobe Dimension. Tinker around with it. I have 2 really great like beginner friendly tutorials that's in the week 9 module that kind of shows you more of what the program can do. And then 3, it's not too early to start thinking about what you might want to do for your Adobe Dimensions project. For that project, you're going to be creating a 3-product set. So of course you have to create the branding and the visuals for it in Illustrator and Photoshop, and then you'll be putting it on mockups in Dimension. And the whole thing has to be cohesive, branded, like visually strong. I don't want to see any, like, professor, I already got it done, I'm going to open up Dimension, show you. No, because this starts with the proper design of the graphics. So the graphics have to be created first, and then you put them on stuff in Dimension. And before you even create the graphics, you have to have a strong concept. So I would recommend that over the next couple of days, you go on like Behance, go on Packaging of the World, go on the dieline.com and take a look to see what they're doing with packaging in Dimension. Even from here, you can see in the week 9 module, I do have a link, right? Inspiration, Adobe Dimension packaging inspiration. I would tell you, between Instagram and Behance, oh my gosh. So even on Instagram, you can see what they're doing with Dimension. And I'm gonna tell you, like a lot of stuff is, it's like, oh gosh, are we really gonna get another coffee brand? Been there, done that. Of course, no, you can't do craft beer because we already did that in the mockups. Think of something that's a little less traditional and predictable for your packaging concept. Take a look around your own house, in your cupboards, see what you have and see how like it can be reimagined, maybe in a different packaging container. Okay. Look at this one right here. All right. Something for pets. All right. This is really cute. It's really nice. Again, it's just a different way of approaching packaging for dog products. Okay, very beautiful. There's all kind of stuff here, but again, just something different. The strength of this project is going to be in how you creatively reimagine an existing product. So it could even be like shampoo, but can it just be regular shampoo? Maybe it's like organic shampoo for 4C hair or something like that, or a different kind of ice cream and a very unconventional like a luxurious package, or maybe it's, I don't know, there's so many different things that you can do. I really love Packaging of the World, packagingoftheworld.com, because one, it gives you all these categories that you may not be thinking of. All right. And then you can see what, the best of the best have done within that category. Okay. So that's pretty much it. You know, next week I will officially release the Adobe Dimension packaging project. And at that point, hopefully we can have a really nice discussion. You can say, Professor, over the past week, I've been thinking, and here are my 2 or 3 ideas for my Dimension project. And, you know, we'll take it from there. Okay. Each of these packaging projects come with their own unique set of challenges. As you've seen with the tea packaging that had its own challenge. This 3D is going to come with its own completely knock your socks off set of challenges. Your design has to be strong. Your concept has to be strong. Okay, so really put some strong thought and effort into the idea, and so that we can have a really nice, comprehensive discussion about it next week. Okay. Any questions, comments, thoughts?
Not right.
What are your thoughts about Adobe Dimension?
Interesting.
It looks cool.
Yeah. Literally spend like 15-20 minutes with it, and you got it. It's really that intuitive. I won't say easy, it's just it's intuitive as compared to the other 3D programs. All right. So if that is it, we are done right on time. It's 3 o'clock. I will make this recording available. I'll try to edit it down a little bit and make it available. And until then, I will see you guys next week. All right.
Thank you, Professor. Have a nice day.
Have a good
Have a
one.
good day.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right.